So, you guys, this is an amazing TV show coming to pilot. I can't wait to hear all about it. I want to hear each of you tell me about your take on it.
Lauren, you want to start?
Oh my gosh, where do we start? We're super excited that we're premiering the pilot at Dances with Films um, on July 1st. And yeah, this pilot started as like an idea for it was like a short film, and then we were like, maybe we'll build it into a feature. And then there was so much story to be told that we were just like, let's make this a limited series. But it's Remixed is a story of life after grief and how people can heal years after a tragedy or a loss and process unhealthy coping mechanisms and get through them a while later. Sorry, my dogs just started.
It's okay. Did your dogs want to be a part of the interview? Because I have animals sitting with me right now too.
My husband just got home and I'm like, okay, he's gonna get excited now. Sorry.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a mix. He kind of acts like a mini schnauzer terrier or something, but
Okay.
I don't really know.
Nice.
Yeah, we have our quiet mini dachshund downstairs, and I say quiet because he's just out of range of hearing us. So he's quiet for now. He's 6 months old and he doesn't know what's going on in the world yet.
So tell me your take on the TV show rather, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Lauren just sort of touched on it, but reading the script for the first time, it really was, a story about life after loss and coping with grief, and it struck a chord with me, and I feel like it's just so relatable. Everybody's got some form of grief or loss that they've dealt with in their lives, and this really, it was a script that had real characters in what felt like a surreal situation. It was a story about people trying not to cope and being forced to cope by sort of their lost loved one. And I thought that was such a unique take on it, and this, using a mixtape that they discover 15 years later as the tool that gets them all back together, that sort of really gets them back on track with their lives, through having to come back together, rediscover themselves, and try to start to heal and move forward, but not alone with their lost loved one, through this, sort of voice of God mix CD that comes through. So for me, it's a story about coping, but also about hope and aspiring to continue to be your best self, even in the face of adversity.
And tell me about the characters that you guys play.
So I play Liz, who is sort of when Frank and I wrote this, we wanted to have the characters embody different like the ways that you don't properly cope with grief. So my character Liz is sort of like years later just kind of lost and unsure of herself. So just playing like she's kind of just like very doubtful of like what she wants. She's scared, she's pregnant, she's unsure of like, does this mean I don't want to be with my husband, or like all these things. And so we watch her grow as the story goes. And then the other characters are, Isaac is like the neglect form of not dealing with something, where it's like just kind of like doesn't want to move forward with his ambitions. And then Aubrey is like just hides everything behind humor. So those are kind of like the three main characters for and how they each deal with grief.
Mitch?
My take on the characters, or
Yeah, and are you in it? You're not in it, are you? Or
no, I've been behind the camera for a very long time.
okay, so how would you describe characters?
Um, I think even just hearing Lauren talk about it now, it really, like, each character sort of represents a different form of coping. I think there's the Liz character that Lauren plays that I think is sort of tries to mask her loss with a false sense of confidence. You have Aubrey, who shields everything with humor. I've mentioned this in the past, but she's like my Jewish heritage, where it's just like all we do is try to mask tragedy with comedy, because it's all we can do. And I think that's that character. And then Isaac is sort of the trifecta piece, and he is as Lauren said, again, the neglect form, and sort of just the defeat, I think, is what Isaac really felt from having lost his best friend. They all lost a piece of themselves and have coped with it in very different ways. And I think Isaac just sort of rounds that out with that neglect and just sort of giving up. So those are the main characters, and then there's obviously a bunch of tertiary characters as well.
I learned how do you relate to Liz, or do you relate to another character on the show?
There was some element of me that we wrote into Liz, just in like kind of what the worst, not the worst version of me, but like some of my struggles as just becoming an adult or whatever. Like in my lowest moments, I might be incredibly doubtful of myself or lack confidence or know what decision is right for me. So we kind of like exaggerated that, and it made it pretty easy to play.
And Mitch, what out of all the characters on the show, which one do you relate to the most, and why?
It's a great question. I think I would say it's a combination of all three, to be totally honest with you. I cope with grief in several different ways. I'm a very proactive person, so I would tend to, all right, what are the bullet points of how do we deal with this? What are the next steps? There's the comedy aspect of it all that I would, try to like make other people feel better and make things lighter in the situations. And then there's also just the like needing to like just disconnect aspect of all of it, that Isaac does. Like when my grandparents passed away, I threw a party and I went to Europe, and
Oh
I
wow.
checked out for 3 months. It was just like that was how I was able to cope. And so between like writing a eulogy, and then the party and then leaving, it was like three very different ways to deal with that loss. I'm a Gemini, so I'm all over the place with all this stuff. So I think that honestly there's a piece of each character that I fully relate to in different ways.
Nice. And without giving too much away, what scene in the pilot do you think are you looking forward to everybody seeing the most, and why? Starting with Lauren.
Um, I I always I love the scene with the three of them at Mr. Leroy's house. So I'll just say that to not give too much away, but I always get excited when that scene comes up because it's funny to me.
Mitch?
That's a great one. I mean, I think the combination of sort of the first interaction that Liz and Aubrey have with Isaac, I just love the sort of reintroduction of Isaac into their lives. And I love the Mr. Leroy scene leading into sort of a conversation that happens in the car with the three of them. And it's really like, each of those scenes has elements of humor and drama and sort of like a really nice balance to show who these people are individually, but also who they were as friends before all this happened and before they really went their own ways. So I think both of those scenes really play into the overarching series vibes for the characters too.
Wonderful. Well, it was a pleasure to speak to both of you. I'm very proud of you both, and I can't wait to talk again soon.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
is
you
awesome.
so much.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
So nice to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right.